Relaxing days like this are nice. Let's take it easy. First, get into position like this. Then move like that. Yep, that's it. Take a deep breath, as if you're about to blow up a huge balloon.
Hey everyone, welcome to
this into it, and then
welcome.
poof.
Yay, volume's working. I forgot to check. I usually check before I go live, just because some days you just never know when the volume is actually going to work. But yeah, change the brightness a little. But yeah, welcome everyone. Welcome. Play some Genshin. We're on this Keeeee event. Kleeeee event. I don't know why I call her Keeeee. I'm terrible. Words are hard. But yes, we're on this Kleeeee event and hopefully get Kleeeee, right? I hear it's a very, very, very long event, so I don't know if I'll finish it tonight. I would love to be able to finish it tonight,
Relaxing days like
but
this are nice.
I don't know. I tend to get sidetracked, as most do in Genshin, and go exploring a lot, so there's so much to do in this area, right? Mic might be a little low at the moment. Okay. I will double check some settings and then also bring it like the open sound set. Okay. I think it's working. I might just be talking super low. I can definitely adjust the slider a little bit too. There we go. That'll probably help right there. I think I'm talking. It might be picking up a little. I don't know. Usually it's like maxing out. I probably am. I'm tired. I tend to speak a little softer when I'm tired. Yeah, it's a bit better. Okay. It's not. Is it horribly quiet on stream? If so, I can yell. I don't want to yell. No yelling for me. Was the same earlier? Okay. I thought it was me? Okay. I don't know. My throat kind of hurts.
As if you're about
That
to
might be
blow
part
up
of
a
it.
huge balloon. Exhale all your sleepiness into it, and then poof. It's now flying away.
Alright. This is where we left off last night. Oh, but before we do that, one more thing. I forgot I had these. I have Skittles. A giant share bag. Who wants to share them with me? Yeah, I checked that. It's fine. If that was the case, it would be cutting out and you would only be able to hear parts of my words. If it was the volume thing, you'd only be able to hear part of them. Yeah. They're apparently all white Skittles, so you don't know what flavor you're gonna get. And this is supposed to be like the Pride pack, so it's like really colorful rainbow pack, but then the Skittles are like white. Yeah. Rain knows. So I need somebody to share them with though, because this is too many for me to eat. I'm gonna find something to put them on too, because I don't just want to lay them straight on my desk. Oh, they're not really white. They're kind of like an gray. Hey. They're like gray. Thanks for the lurk, Matthew. Gray or light purple,
First,
I would
get
say.
into position like this, then move like that. Yep, that's it.
But yeah. I will enjoy them. If I can keep the sugar ants out of them. Anybody know how to get rid of sugar ants? I've had issues with sugar ants lately. I don't know what the deal is. Ugh. Also trying to squeeze my butt in this chair and I can't get comfortable. What is with me tonight? Little tiny microscopic ants that can't bite you, but they run really fast and they look for food. Especially sugar, which is why they're called sugar ants. They love sugar. Excessive heat watch. 2 more days. Well, catch if you're catching Pokemon, guys. Indeed. Should have been doing all this stuff. Gotcha. Tomorrow I get 100 gems. Oh, I got 12 days. I should be able to do it. No! Oh, nobody caught it. But it specifies that Indeedee is a female? Interesting. Alright, Bubble. Where you at? I need you to come release this thing. Here, Bubble. bubble person. Oh, I already did it. You were the best. Interesting. Thought so too. I was like, what? Oh, I guess we're supposed to ride down to the next platform. Okay, well we did this one, and we'll ride down to the next one. Oh no, we don't want to change directions. Oh, this is the end of the platform. What? Oh, it's incomplete or something. Well then. I guess we get to go rectify this situation. And why is this bouncy thing fly up? Whee! Bubbles everywhere. We're gonna go to our destination. Maybe. I get sidetracked. I'm gonna get sidetracked. I want these mushroom things. I want these baddies. Oh, that's not a mushroom thing. That's tigers.
With all my strength.
It's just a lot of meat. I guess I need meat. I don't know. Oh no, all the meat fell down the hill. Oh, that was a waste. It all went down the hill.
Hey, listen!
Hey, listen! Hi, Jeffapa. How are you? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hope you are doing awesome. Welcome to the stream. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm gonna get this bubble. Testing. Some apples. What is that? A water drop? No. No whispers yet? Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah. It's because the file type, I gotta convert it. Yeah. I couldn't figure out how to convert it from that to MP3 or 4.
Relaxing days like this are nice. Let's take it easy.
Yeah, the same. Yeah. So I haven't had a chance to convert it and figure that out, so I haven't did it yet. I think about it. I just get busy. You just use some website? Yeah, I'll probably do the same too. I probably even have software on my computer to do it.
Here. It's so big! But, not as big as the one we saw in the middle of this place. That one was huge. I bet it's something super important. I remember what Kaya said earlier. Very good, Kleeeee. You're using what you saw earlier to make observations, like a real
No rush though, right? I know.
It appears to be a
I got it saved in a folder where I look
rotates
all the
different
time, so it reminds me.
That's
Same place I
right.
upload all my YouTube
Originally, all you
videos,
had
so
to
I
do
know
was
I
flip
see
this
it every
switch,
time I
the
upload to
junction would
YouTube.
rotate.
But I do those in
seems
large
Jeremy still hasn't fixed it
batches.
Yet. He sure talks big, but when it comes to actually getting things done...
Is this Jeremy you mentioned one of your brothers?
Yeah,
Also,
When I
use
talked to him
sticky
about
notes a lot
repairing
on
the
my
tracks,
computer to remind
I
me of
suggested
things.
we start with the
I
station,
have like all kinds
but
of lists.
he said we should start at the
Things
junction.
that I need to do.
Really,
It's always
it made
infinite.
no difference which one we started with, but he just had to turn it into a huge argument. He always treats me like I'm a fool and disagrees with anything I say. Let's see what he has to say now that I've already fixed the tracks.
If you ask me, you're clearly a sharp person, Ferdinand.
Yes, finally someone who can recognize that, rather than just shrugging off my ideas. Come on, let's make our way to the junction and see what he's up to. I bet he's still fretting over what to do.
Okay. You know, I bet you get like... I swear every one of these is grape. Did I get like a whole pack of grape? Is that how this works? Like, you don't know what flavor you're gonna get? Pretty. I want to get on, but I want to look around too. Like a box of chocolates? Yeah, Rain, are they supposed to be like one solid flavor in these packs? Do you know? Like, I swear my whole pack is grape Skittles. Mm-hmm. Think you're going crazy? Maybe. Maybe it's because they don't have the color on the outside, they just taste more similar. I definitely have not had a lemon. And they're all like grape color, purple. Have your extra grape ones? The whole pack is grape. Now that my taste buds have lost it. I am drinking this grape drink too. So, I don't want to play hide and seek. Crazy little dudes. Like, where are they at? I don't know how to tell where they're hiding at. This one? Yeah! There's one. I don't see anybody else. Is that one hidden as a gross thing? Yep. And then there should be one more. Oh, I see. He's hidden as a little cutie boy. It should be all 5 flavors. You have extra grape ones. That's probably the issue. It should be all 5 flavors, right? But yeah, they on the package though. Yeah, I don't know. It's probably me. I'm usually good at tasting different flavors, but
Deep breath, as if you're about to blow up a
not
huge
today.
balloon. Exhale all your sleepiness into it, and then, poof! It's now flying away.
Now I'm going to roll that up and hope the sugar ants don't find it. Don't find it. Until I can take it to the kitchen. I think you're the one I'm looking for. Not. What? Why did it go over there? Oh, it turned into a barrel. What happens when you just follow them? You need colors to taste the difference, apparently. Used to the taste of the food coloring. Where'd it go? I don't know. Oh wow, cricket tot. Frigate. Frigatito. I think I said it right. Sprigatito. We don't have to get back up high. Somehow. Hey, it's a fish. Golden bass. It's just a water bubble. It doesn't do anything. Do I gotta get all the way up there? I missed him. There we go.
Sometimes I can't help but get angry just thinking of Jeremy. You should have seen him back in the sandstorm. I suggested we go east, and he argued that we should go
New
west.
tracks created.
You
Yay!
were in a sandstorm? What happened after that?
We separated and each went our own way. Lucky for us, we stumbled across this domain. Otherwise, I'm sure we would have been buried in the sand.
Everything will get better once we get the switcher working again.
Still stuck here just as I expected. Well, did you make any progress?
Didn't I already tell you? Just have the hydroidolins fix the junction and then make a new cart. After that, we can use the junction to... Wait a minute, how did you get here? It took a lot of effort for me to climb all the way up here.
The answer is standing right in front of you.
Yeah,
Cart.
sure. Those travelers must have helped you.
Cart and travelers, that's how.
You never get anything done on your own. You always get someone else's help and then try to take the credit for yourself.
You're one to talk. What have you managed to accomplish, huh? You were here just moping around all day.
Whoa. They started arguing the moment they saw each other. But aren't they supposed to be brothers?
Me? His brother? Hardly.
All right, Jeremy. That's enough.
Fine. I'd rather be focusing my efforts on fixing the track switch rather than arguing anyway.
You should calm down too, Ferdinand. Let's all focus on the situation at hand. Any personal problems can be settled later.
Fine.
Fine.
I'm sorry you had to see that. My name's Jeremy. I'm one of the people responsible for taking care of this area. I assume you're the ones who helped repair the tracks. Thank you very much. It means a lot.
No need to thank us. We're just trying to help Idea restore the domain.
I see. Now that you and Ferdinand brought the cart up here, we'll need the hydroidolins to fix the area below.
Them again, huh? Seems the hydroidolins are really important around this place.
Yes, of course. Not only do they keep the junction turning, they operate practically everything else in the domain too.
Flowers grow.
All right. Seems most of the tracks and junctions have been repaired now.
Yep. So maybe it's time you give credit where credit is due,
What? You think you deserve the credit? If anything, we should be thanking these travelers.
You... Well, either way, you're not the one getting any credit. You're always quick to criticize my ideas and push your own, but you never actually get anything done.
And
Only
what
ever
about
known that word
you?
from Final
Don't forget
Fantasy.
It was Otto and I who took care of
I've
the
never
mess
heard of
that
it, so
one
I didn't
time
know
you
that was a Final
impulsively
Fantasy
tried
word.
one of your brilliant ideas. Speaking of Otto, wasn't he with you?
I left early this morning. I assumed he'd be with you.
Seriously? Couldn't you have at least looked to see where he was before you left?
Hey, come on! You didn't see him either, so what's your excuse?
Kleeeee?
I don't blame you, Kleeeee. Tired of hearing people fuss.
I don't get it.
I don't get it either,
Bad.
Kleeeee.
Why are they arguing?
I just don't like his smug attitude, that's all.
Who are you calling smug? If anything, you're the one who's making such a big fuss right now.
All right, I think we've heard enough from you two.
I
If you
agree.
insist on bickering, then I'd suggest you go somewhere else. Otherwise, I'll just cool you two off myself.
Oh, snap. They might like it.
Now, come with me. I'd like to have a word with you.
Phew. Don't be upset, Kleeeee. There are many complicated situations in this world which don't always have a logical explanation. As a passing traveler here, it's not my place to comment on their disputes. But in my experience, family issues can be the toughest to resolve.
Dylan was it? Oh, never mind.
Seems
This
you
is
don't
new in
like
that
dealing
ad
with
bubble
this kind
goes
of
the
thing
way.
either,
Makes it look
Kokumi.
like there's a new chat.
But it's still not right. I don't know how to explain my feelings.
I'm sorry. We've calmed down. We shouldn't argue in front of a child like that.
We're sorry, Kleeeee.
It's okay.
Back to the topic at hand. Weren't you about to go look for your brother Hado?
Ah, right. Our best guess is he's somewhere around the torrential twister. We would have to use the junction to send the cart to another area.
Sorry to trouble you again, but would you help us find him?
Oh.
Don't
alright.
argue. Then we'll help, right?
Hey, come on, you two. You're brothers after all. Can't you try to get along?
So I guess we gotta go. Which track's using the junction? What? Okay. Bro! Rotate the track blossom on the screen to change the track choo-choo cart is traveling on. The color of the flower beneath the large track wreath shows the destination of your present track. Oh, jeez. Use the wood board with the plaque to check the destination of the track. Probably open up your map to this. Okay. Okay, so directionally challenged people, yeah. Freaking issues, but that's okay.
Okay, this is the end of this track segment. Auto should be nearby.
We click things and stuff, so that should fix it. How are you doing, Sixer? Did we do it right? I think so. Gonna find out. Tired? Me too. Oh. I don't like these. These move in. What? What? Am I just supposed to go through them? Oh, you're supposed to change tracks. Well, dang.
Let me help you pack this up.
Long day, Sixer. Long week.
Ah, I
Finally
guess you
Friday.
repaired the tracks and stations as soon
Hopefully
as
you
I
get
saw
some
a
time
cart
off.
come zipping along. Now that the tracks, station, and carts are all repaired, we're about ready to reopen Torrential Twister. It'll be good to see my design back in action again.
You're in no condition to be out running around like this, Hado.
More yelling.
That's true, but you.
Exactly. If there's anything that needs.
Hey, that's between Jeremy and me.
I'm not.
Hey, Ferdinand.
Oh, don't worry. We're not arguing, Kleeeee. We're just, discussing some things.
Are you and Jeremy worried about Hado?
Hmm?
Why don't you just talk to him about it? Kaya's also worried about me sometimes, but he doesn't ever criticize me.
You're right. But our relationship is much better than these guys.
Well, our situation is a little different.
Really? How so?
We've been through this kind of thing before. If we didn't warn Hado, then he wouldn't take it seriously and something would eventually happen. As his brothers, we have to help him.
But it doesn't look like you're helping.
Huh?
Maybe Kleeeee doesn't understand everything. But my mommy told me that you help someone to make them feel happy, not to make yourself happy. Hado sure doesn't look very happy. Why don't you ask him what he needs?
Kleeee's right, you know. You three need to open up and talk things through.
I've always cared a lot about you, Hado. Just like when we were back in the desert. You suddenly passed out and Jeremy and I started arguing. Eventually, all three of us ended up in this dome. I'm just worried that something similar could happen again. If you were to pass out and with nobody around to help you...
I know. But this domain is nowhere near as dangerous as the desert. I was thinking that if I could handle these problems myself, then you two wouldn't have to argue about anything. If it weren't for my poor health and lack of energy all the time, then I wouldn't have always been such a burden on you two.
No need to feel guilty, Hado. This was our choice. The three of us love adventuring. No one is a burden on anyone. Isn't that why we came up with the idea for this area? I would do the thinking, Ferdinand would use his muscle.
Draw the blueprints and build tracks. It'll be a safe way to see all kinds of amazing scenery. Yes, that was the plan.
Hey, what are you trying to say? You make it sound like...
The choo-choo cart is great.
Pochina!
Really?
You know, Kleeeee, having the car zip along the tracks was...
Yeah, what in the...
Hey, Kleeeee, do you...
Yay!
Looks like all three of them are trying to win Kleee's approval now.
Yep, y'all better straighten
Kleeeee
up.
hasn't realized it
Getting
yet,
taught by a child.
but her innocent, childlike nature is very powerful. It can inspire... Hey, everyone. Please come with me. We need to get the hydro...
Ride the choo-choo cart and go activate the tracks. Okay. You insist, we'll go activate the tracks. It might help if I go the right direction to the cart. Lord. Let's go. Yay! Oh, so now I change directions. Activate the torrential twister. Oh, 6 meters lower. Do I go below the flower? Where do I? Oh, never mind. I see it. There it is. Oh, blurb, a blurb. Jeff, congratulations on catching Pochina. Auto water. Water levels are rising very fast, guys. Be worried. Okay, so now we're gonna go down there. Turn the twister cart to the platform. Change directions. Get on board. Go back down.
Good. Torrential Twister is ready to run now. Let's go to the station at the start of the track.
No! 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 Get off! I messed it up. I didn't want to go this way. My destination is behind me. Right? My current course is not my destination. Oh. There we go. Didn't let me do it. Oh, this is not the way either, or is it? I feel so lost. Ah. These tracks are not the tracks I'm looking for. New tracks have been created. Oh no! I'm just getting further and further away from my destination. I'm really not starting to not like these roller coasters. Just saying, guys, just saying. Feels like a really annoying way to, get off course, like, non-stop. Anything here worthwhile while we're here? No. We're in the desert. What the heck? Turn around, cart. Take us to where we really need to go. None of this craziness. What the heck? I guess we were supposed to destroy those things. I destroyed one. Does it count? Oh. Gotta get that thing. Yay! Alright, treasure chest.
For you.
Oh boy. Now where to? obviously change directions, but I don't think we want to go back. We gotta make sure we jump the track at the right point, right? Which I missed. Oh, I didn't accomplish my goal because I missed the junction. Don't like it. I don't like it. Anybody else get as annoyed as I am with this part? Looks like it got dark in here. Okay, now we'll try this again. I don't necessarily need to abandon the challenge, I don't think. Yeah, I messed up last time and I did the junction thing. Oh, maybe that one didn't matter though. Okay. So... Can I just go by foot where I need to go? Yes. We're just gonna go down there. I think maybe that's what I'm supposed to do. We'll go beat some baddies up in the process.
Yeah. Positions. Go.
You're frozen. Next. Yeah.
Let me help you pack this up.
Okay, so now we're gonna go over here. And, our destination is definitely below us. Do we need any of these guys while we're here? These pigs.
All eyes on me.
Get some raw meat. There we go. And the thing is like below us. That's where we need to go.
Hato and I have double-checked everything. It's all operating safely. You can go for a ride now.
Hold on a sec. Before we say goodbye, I have something I'd like to give you all. It's a rock climbing rope. We used it on our adventures to climb mountains and traverse many places.
A rope!
Huh? But doesn't it mean a lot to you? Are you sure you want to give it to us?
Yes, of course. Thanks to Kleeeee and everyone else's help, we realized that there's a special bond that keeps us together. Even though it's invisible, it's even more important than rope. We can always hold on.
Huh? I helped?
Yes, Kleeeee. You are a big help.
Even bigger than that huge thing in the middle of this place?
Yes. Much.
Wow, that's huge!
By the way, have you ever seen anything like the choo-choo cart in the outside world?
Nope. Today was the first time I rode anything like it.
Is that so? I guess I'm not surprised. Seems you won't find Torrential Twister anywhere else. Be sure to come back and ride the choo-choo carts again while you still have the chance.
Yep,
That's not what the text
I
said.
will.
The text didn't match up to what he said. Said you won't find steam-powered something something. And he said torrential twister. Ride the choo-choo higher. Demon. I hope it knows where it's going, because I don't. We're going down. Had it faster.
This is even higher than I expected. The
Whoa.
drops are pretty steep too. Are you okay, Kokomi? If you're scared, just yell and let it out. We won't tell anyone. What happens in the bottle domain stays in the bottle domain.
Uh-huh. Why are we collecting bubbles? I guess they're hitching a ride. Fixing tracks. They're making new tracks.
Having the most fun.
Oh, I don't know. Was I supposed to jump tracks or something and avoid those? Probably. Whee! Come on, Bubbles. Guess we waited for them to cross the road. Oh, Wooloo! Don't catch Wooloo! Challenge completed. Precious treasure.
Wow, what a lovely surprise.
That's so much fun! Kleeeee can fly across the sky like a real mage now.
Like a real mage.
Sort of makes sense. Wait, but if being able to fly makes you a mage, what does that make Kaya, since he's here too?
Nothing! Kaya's just the master thief! Don't you remember, Paimon?
Oh, right. Guess it slipped Paimon's.
Sorry to bother our young mage, but there's something a master thief would like to report. Do you still remember our...
Uh-oh. I was having so much fun that I almost...
We're supposed to be helping Adia look for the missing components.
You mean you snatched it when we weren't looking?
I didn't have to go that far.
No,
In
it's
fact,
been called back
the component we were
KimonoKat.
searching
Yay!
for was
Got a
actually
Wooloo.
that orange rope. If anything,
Aw, do we really have to go? Okay. Even though I want to keep playing, I know Adia is really important.
That's our wise mage.
Yep.
Don't worry. Tonight, he'll be able to see stars in the water and watch fish dance in the sky. Seems Kokomi's out of it after that ride.
Mm.
Her face is completely blank and her lip was trembling while she was speaking. Huh? I thought I was keeping my composure pretty well. Don't worry, my mind is always spinning. I'm used to this. We should head back to Idia.
How about we hold hands, Miss General? Kleeeee will give you energy.
Aww.
After holding Kleee's hand, the stars in the sky and the fish in the water have all disappeared. I must have been seeing things from riding the cart. What are you smiling about, Kokomi? Oh. Nothing. Nothing at all.
Magical. Turn to the Sailor Battle Courtyard. Okay. I can just go over there. Teleport. He ain't playing around with no cart.
Relaxing days like this are nice. Let's take it easy.
Anything I want to explore on my way down? Maybe. Maybe these crazy little blurbs here want my attention. Let's see. Blurb. 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 No, they don't. They want nothing to do with me. Says there's a doohickey around here, though. Where the doohickey is? Oh, there it is. Oh, there's a lantern doohickeys. So we're gonna get that on our way down. Help. I don't need help. Oh, that's the one thing to take you back up. Cool. Steph, what are you up to? Are you Minecrafting? What are you doing today?
Welcome back! Well, any good news? Oh, don't tell me! You've taken care of all the problems and now I don't have to do anything?
Second things and shift. Was playing Minecraft. It's very chill game. I don't blame you.
Choo-choo cart. Do you want to come ride too? But maybe you'll have to wait till tomorrow. I'm a little tired now.
A time.
Seems she had a little too much fun and now she's about to crash. I think it's time for a rest.
Good idea. I think we could all use some downtime. Thanks for giving me some energy, Kleeeee.
Then we'll see you later.
Bye, Miss Honorary Knight. Bye, everyone. Well, it sounds like our young mage enjoyed herself. I'm so happy that she had a good time.
Yep.
So, back to the missing component. Did you bring it?
You
Maybe.
bet! Kaya said that the missing component was this orange climbing rope.
Ah, it just occurred to me that you probably ran into the three brothers while you were in the canyon. If I remember correctly, the two eldest brothers were taking their sickly younger brother on adventures when they ran into a sandstorm and ended up here. They were all arguing with one another when they first arrived. They
You almost sound as if you're reminiscing about old friends, Idia.
Yes, I've known them for quite some time after all. You can hold on to the rope for now, Traveler. I have no use for it until we have the other components. By the way, Eula and Kale have also returned, but I'm afraid they weren't able to make much headway. They mentioned
Course
that
not.
they would like to head to the jungle north of here. Once you have all... Now that I've told you everything, I'll go
Do you need me to accompany you?
Oh, no, it's all right. You've already...
Invitation from the gods. Yay! Fairgrounds gathering until the 8 to 12. Oh, okay. Da-da-da-da-da-da.
1, 2...
Complete all the team. Okay. Completed. Now we're on to Target. Da-da-da. And I want the red dot to go away. Go away.
4...
Mm-hmm. Emma? Ganadas per mouse. I wonder where we're at on those. Ooh, we're getting closer to a 10 pole. Get closer. You might get Komi. Don't tell Turtle. Tell Turtle, we might get good Komi. I really don't want to go to this, but it's not gonna like make the red thing go away until I go to it. Pyramid. And yes, okay. And okay. Done. I tried. Not closing. What time did it say? 8? 8 a.m. Got it. I understand you. Changing time. Coffee sounds good. It does sound really good right now. Coffee would be amazing. It might be time for a short break before we start this next part. They're all waiting patiently. But I think it's a good place to take a stretch break real quick. I'm gonna put this up. Put up my Skittles. Stretch my legs. And I'll be back, guys. Stretch break time. Do your things and stuff.
Hey, do you know what?
And then we'll start the next
Neither
leg of this
do
adventure.
I already forgot. One, two, breathe. 3, 4, and One, two, breathe. 3, 4, and One, two, breathe. 3, 4, and One, 2, 3, 4, 2.
And back. back. You get to listen to the wonderful Chi-Chi stretch. 6 hey chat. Nigo ship. You shipped with a Pokemon community games. So what name does that make you? Stretch break? Yes. Thank you. Nobody called the Pokemon though. It would spawn when I stepped away. Welcome. Thank you for the Nico knees. Nico kneecaps. Shane. Hi Shane. How goes it? How's life treating you? Welcome. I hope life is treating you well. And things are good.
Let's go somewhere cooler.
Welcome. Pretty good today. How about you? I'm good. Thank you. Thank you. Let's see. Welcome to the Discord, new Neko. Welcome. Let's see.
1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 2, 3.
If I can type.
One, two, three, 4.
There we go. Hi, Monstrosity. Hello. Pretty good today. How about you? I'm good. I'm tired today, but I'm good. I brought back snacks. I took a break. Just got back. No, Chi-Chi, I don't know what. Gosh. Let's change to some cuteness for a minute. My napkin keeps blowing away. It's like, stop blowing away. I want to put chips on you. But it won't stay in one spot so that I can put chips on it. You know what? Oreo ice cream sandwiches? That sounds so good. I have Pringles. Ice cream does sound amazing, no? Redeem free stickers! Sweet! Now I can send you 2. I don't have any new ones though. You have all of them, so you'll have to let me know which ones you want. You have every sticker I have. You know that, right?
I wonder what's inside
You know.
No. No peeking at my customers.
I'll take any sticker. Okay. I was like, you should save your points for when I have new stickers. I'll take and buy a new sticker. Next month, maybe? Knowing's half the battle. G.I. Joe. When did you get into G.I. Joe, Jeff? I feel like my hair's biting me. I feel like it's a mess tonight. Yeah, I'm a mess. But what's new? Michigan! Welcome, Michigan! Michigan likes Jeff. Well, if you guys are gonna play that, I'm gonna play it too. See whoever. Only saving points for stickers. Okay.
Okay, let's get going. The next location on my list is
Kimono
really
likes
far
Jeff.
away.
You used to be a kiddo too, you know? Really? I thought you were always an adult. I thought you were always an adult, Jeff. I don't know. Bot's getting the hugs. That's not cool. Alright, Michigan gets the hugs. He gets double cookies because of the bot. Cookies. Add Michigan. 1,000 cookies. Ooh, water and cheetah cat ears. Nice. Water. Redeemed. Now cat ears. Now we have the cheetah cat ears. Now I'm feeling much more. Ah! 1,000 cookies? Yes. I'm making a mess, apparently. Ow! There's like something on it that's catching. I'm gonna flip it around. It kept catching my hair and pulling it as I was putting it on, so I was like, what's going on here? How goes in Michigan? Hope you're having an awesome Friday. I love her noises.
The scenery here is wonderful. I've landed the perfect job.
Hey, Kale and Eula! Oh, Adia is here too!
Hey, it's the traveler in Paimon.
How are you? Did you rest well?
Yep, this is a comfortable place to rest. I guess that's one thing here that's better than the desert. But other than that, there's not much going for this place.
Saying things like that isn't going to help, Adia.
But it's the truth. The desert is full of terrible memories for me. Being there was like... yeah, like wading through thick mud.
That's a weird way to put it.
A good Friday? Thanks, how about you? It's a good Friday! It's Friday, finally! I made it through another week, right? Made it through another week. I'm here with you guys. I'm playing one of my favorite games.
Almost as if we're in the
And I get to sleep in the morning, at least some, so that makes me happy.
Everyone looks
Sleep is
well-rested.
amazing.
If you're ready, we can start making our way to the jungle north of here.
Good luck, everyone! I'll be rooting for you.
Hold on. I said we, didn't I? No need to say goodbye, because you're coming too.
Huh?
You know sleep is a cat's favorite
I'm just the
pastime.
mascot.
You can't back out
Next to
this time, Adia.
games.
The manager of the fairgrounds is waiting to see you.
Sleep,
He
games,
said Adia is
and
the only
food,
person
of
who can help.
course. All those things.
Kale and I discovered a fairgrounds in the forest.
The person in charge of it seems to be a spot-to-mod scholar.
A scholar? But what's she doing there? Researching the forest ley lines?
Oh, I wish there were ley lines here that I could ever study. Anyway, I know who you're talking about. I'd better come along then.
Michigan's kissing Momo. Garage Paradise Crisis started. Alright. Momo ran away. I just woke up from a nap. To go make some dinner? That's the perfect way to go. Nap and then food. How rude. Splashes Jeff.
I wonder what's inside this package. No.
Nice.
Peeking at my customers.
Like Shane. Shane didn't know he was dirty. See. I bit the bot. I bit the bot, so what does that mean? There. The bot can use run, but it doesn't make any noise when the bot uses run. It's so weird. Gotta have meatloaf, then after some New York style vanilla ice cream, I forgot it was in the garage freezer. Meatloaf sounds good. I haven't had meatloaf in forever. I was gonna say ages, but it hasn't been ages. I just want meatloaf. Sounds really good. Blurbs. Blurbs. Flames. Go to the forest. Oh yeah. Hey, there's some of those mushroom things I need. Gonna go fight him because I need him. Who is this? Oh no. Need all the spores I can get. I will go out of my way to collect them. Yeah, actually, I need to be going that way. Hey, buddy. I don't think I need this. Oh, we're gonna take it with for a hot second. Dun, 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 dun. Pretty sure I don't need it. Almost everything we cook with meat uses ground turkey. My tummy can't handle beef. Oh no! Well, at least you found something you can handle, you know? Something that's good for you. Sorry, little critter. I needed some steaks. Come here, steaks. There's some birds. Chicken legs. Does her sword just float behind her? What the heck? What the heck? Is that normal? I guess so. Yeah, I guess it's normal, it just floats behind me. More steaks. Magical Kitty is raiding! Welcome Nico Afro! Thank you for the raid, Magical Kitty! Welcome, 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 raiders! I'm not sure why I have no raid alert sounds, but welcome! I think it's because I need to completely redo my alerts from like the ground up. And I started the process, but I didn't want to finish it. Oh, it worked. It's just, well, the follow alert works. Rabi Wasabi, welcome and thank you for that follow. Pringles, yes. It has the Pringles. The Udamus Pringles. What flavor is your favorite? What flavor is your favorite? I had Skittles earlier. Little catch. Woo! A wild. Ooh, that's like a special one in it. Like kinda rock. Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to say that right. We'll catch though. Mmm. Pizza Pringles are really good. Wasabi flavored, of course. Do they make wasabi flavored Pringles? Now I want to know. Question of the moment. Are there wasabi flavored Pringles? Would be cool if there was. You know, they have like every flavor of Kit Kat in Japan. I would not be surprised if wasabi Pringles was not a thing over in Japan. It may not be here, but I feel like it would be somewhere. Somewhere would have it. No? Pringles. Google it. Oh, Google, don't fail me. Find them. Find them. uh... I don't know. Oh, wasabi and soy sauce Pringles. They did exist. There was wasabi and soy sauce Pringles. Oh my gosh. Oh, I caught the Pokemon. Yay. My favorite barbecue, honey mustard, and ranch. Garlic butter. I like the sushi emote. But yeah, totally was a thing. Such strange chip flavors. Yeah, I like shrimp or something like that. Oh, I had some chicken flavored Cheetos. Those were really good. I don't think this is even just Japan because they made it to here. Here, I'll show you guys. I'll share. Let me share the things. They do have everything. Where's display? There you go. Wasabi and soy sauce. I want to try them now. Salt and vinegar and regular your go-to? I like salt and vinegar. That's probably my fave. Gonna lurk for a while. Have a wonderful stream. Thank you. But yes, there you go. We must try those if I can ever get my hands on them. Just saying. They be tasty. I like wasabi peas better though. Those are so spicy. They're almost too spicy for me though, to be real. Wasabi peas. I respect it. And I think it's a cool idea. And I want to like it. And I taste it. And then I'm like, oh my god, it's so freaking hot. Oh, they also came out with Buffalo Ranch Pringles the same time they came out with the wasabi ones. Interesting. And then they had extreme fiery wasabi and exploding cheese and chili. Okay. Why do I not have all these amazing Pringle flavors near me? Need some Pringles in my life. They made wasabi Funyuns? What the heck? I like Funyuns too. I mean wasabi Funyuns? Oh, the Japanese Pringles are crazy. They had seaweed Pringles, grilled shrimp, soft shell crab, and wild spice. Oh my god. Yeah. Okay, I gotta stop looking at Pringles. I'm gonna gain weight looking at them. And he told me his favorite is mayo and anchovy. Oh. Nice. Be tasty. Mona, you remember Pringle sticks? Barely. They were like hard and crunchy though, right? Yes, so tasty. Poor memory unlocked you. Nice. So, Wasabi, what is the VS Super Ultra Combo logo? 2023. What is that? Join Switch is Super Ultra Combo. I was gonna say, it looks like a fighting game. Looks like Street Fighter or... Yeah, looks kind of like Street Fighter or something. Pick up Brilliant Mirror. Install Brilliant Mirror. Oh, that was easy.
Did someone drop their package?
Ooh. Stuff in it. Okay, nobody else hiding here. There is a teleport. Oh. Is it up on the wall somewhere? Looks like it. Doesn't look like it's down. Oh, it's in a cave. That's where it's at. So we gotta go defeat all of these guys. Killer Instincts. Study. I like the dinosaur better. You gotta be it. Oh, the cute little dino. Yeah. Do you have that one too?
I call dibs.
Oh, jeez. Why is my phone telling me to go to sleep? No. I don't want to go to sleep, phone. Killer Instinct? Ah, I like the little emote. Maybe that's Wasabi. That's so cool. You have your own Wasabi emotes. And oh yeah, there's the dino. That's cool. I like it, I like it, I like it.
We mercs have
Nice.
one simple rule. Whoever pays the most is your new boss.
Alright, back to stuff. Here we go. Oh. And this thing. Covering up chat. Num 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 num. Right? All the nums. I want to teleport. I think it's inside. And boop. Where did the bubble go that I released? Who knows? That one isn't a... That is one I could release. I think. Oh no. It's got bubbles coming out of it, but I can't release it. I guess you gotta do them in a certain order. Ah! This sign was one too. Now I can do it. Now there's 3 in that. In the treasure chest.
Wasn't there something in here a second ago?
Num 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 num. Alright, back. Back to our mission. And if bring a brilliant mirror into the illuminant radius of a different gleaming lamp, the mirror will be summoned. Summoned! Install brilliant. What? Install? What? I don't have one. Oh, it's supposed to be this one. Oops. That one had to be gold.
Did someone drop their package?
And then... Are we supposed to carry them? No. Guess not.
Finally, someone has arrived.
Sorry to keep you waiting, Maimuna. We've brought Adia with us.
They all have blue hair. Have you noticed
Thank
that?
you, Kale. It's been quite some time since I've seen you, Adia. To be honest, I didn't think you'd actually show up. If anything, I thought you'd be curled up somewhere crying alone.
Oh, that's so mean!
Hey,
What?
you shouldn't be saying
That's
things like
sus.
that.
Doesn't seem to be the first time Paimon's heard someone say that about Adia, though.
You want to see me cry? Fine. I'll stop crying right here.
No, please don't.
All right, I shouldn't have said that. Now, who are...
And Paimon is Paimon!
They're reliable helpers. Lucky for you that I found them. You'd better be.
Of course. Good to meet you. You may call me
Deep within the fairgrounds. What are we looking for deep within the fairgrounds? I'm not even sure. I don't see anything I can click on. Yeah. I got hungry. You had to like grab all of snacks. You find the Paimon emote. Paimon is hungry. Yo.
Look at that
Love that.
huge
Love it, love it, love it. Paimon is
Amazing,
Paimon.
isn't it? I helped make it. What fun would a fairground be without a tent, right?
Really? Paimon knew you couldn't be so pathetic. You just act modest all the time to hide your actual abilities.
What is it, Kale?
Sorry. I'm not sure if I should tell you. I'm afraid it might dampen the mood.
Uh-oh.
That's not important. Please, just speak your mind.
Answer.
Well, there are lots of vendor booths set up here, but there's no one running them. In fact, there's no one at this fair at all. It looks pretty deserted.
The truth is, this used to be an exciting and bustling place. But just a few
Snappy!
days ago,
Welcome, welcome,
something
welcome!
happened, and it
You're awesome,
seemed
thank you so much! Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hope you're doing well.
The world was suddenly
life's
flipped
treating you
upside
awesome.
down?
Happy
Yes,
Friday!
exactly. Something fell from the central hub into the tent and knocked down the crystal light that was hanging at the top.
Oh, the crystal light.
Mm-hmm. I remember a certain someone said that we should have beautiful lights to celebrate at a fair, and made us that crystal light. But once the light fell, the tent became a complete mess and the Hydro-Eidolons were trapped inside.
Oh,
Just
no,
when I
they're
was at my
trapped.
wit's end, a man from the Lawrence clan came and offered his assistance.
Wait, he offered to help you?
Yes, and he refused to listen to any of my warnings. He just walked.
Yes? And then?
Yeah, don't leave us hanging here. What happened?
And that's it.
Reaper?
He became trapped inside along with the Hydro-Eidolons.
Oh no, we have to do something. We can't just leave him there, Maimuna.
I know, but the situation inside might be more difficult than you think. You should mentally
What?
prepare yourselves.
Ad break ends in 1 minute.
Just talking about it is a waste of time.
All right.
That reminds me. I should show you all the t-shirt I did. If you weren't here, part of the art stream the other day. You didn't get to see it. Ah. It's really cool. So, I'll hold up till the commercial goes by. These ads are ads. Start planning stream around my ads and talk about nonsense until it's over.
Oh, the scenery here is wonderful. I've landed the perfect job.
That way people don't miss things. Because the ads are cray cray. 10 more seconds of ads. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And welcome back from the ad break. Look what I made last Tuesday. We're doing movies and art on Tuesday nights in Discord. Just so you guys know. You're more than welcome to hang out, create art, watch movies. Just chill, just hang out, eat snacks, that good stuff.
Okay.
But during the art night, I made a shirt, and I want to share with you guys. Yeah. This is the one I made that night. Pretty cool. Live, vibe, hang. Ta-da! Had fun. So, that's the art I did that night. I think I posted pictures in Discord as well, and Lady Rain worked on some stuff, and we also did some Discord coloring pages, because those were fun. Thank you, Shane! Thanks for the hype. But yeah, we did some Discord coloring pages too, and it was fun. But if you guys want to join next movie night, I think we're watching Winter Soldier next, and I don't know. I don't know what kind of art I'll be doing yet. I don't know.
The scenery here is wonderful. I've landed the perfect job.
Enter the Big Tent? But they just said people that enter the Big Tent don't come back out. So why would we enter the tent if we're not gonna come back out? Okay, we're gonna enter. See if we can come back out. Wish me luck.
There used to be a large stage inside, but after everything got shaken up, it seems the very nature of the entire place was altered. The lamps and crystal light that were hanging above have all fallen down, which makes repairs near impossible.
Wait, so you mean it's difficult to move around in there?
Yes, mainly because of the lights. Do any of you have experience being on stage? Once the stage lights turn on, everyone's attention is focused on you.
I can't stand that feeling. Having everyone's attention focused solely on me would just make me feel terrible.
Me too! I'm no good at speaking in front of people. And then to have everyone staring at you. Just the thought.
I do okay on Twitch, but that
Sounds like you
I still
have
get
some things
nervous.
you haven't been able to let go of yet.
I still have nervousness before I go live every time. Sometimes worse than others. But for some reason it's a little easier talking to the camera than it is real people. I mean, you guys are real people, but I can't see you.
There's nothing funny about that.
You have a bit of an experience
And
on
you know
stage?
what?
Yeah.
It's not
You
a bad
sing
thing
on
to care
stage.
when other people are looking. That's my opinion anyway. Think about it. Only people who have high standards for themselves would worry about failing to meet others' expectations. You have many good qualities, Kleeeee. I bet if you had to learn dance since childhood like myself, then you'd be an even better dancer than me.
No way! That would be impossible.
I can relate. I know exactly how she feels.
Maybe we should find a time for you to learn with me. And one day you
But
will
have you had
become an
any other stage
outstanding dancer
experience
too.
besides singing?
By that time,
I know you do
you'll
that
be
a
so
lot, though.
focused on performing your beautiful moves that you'll no longer worry about an audience watching you.
Wow. Yula's so passionate about this that she's practically glowing now.
That's awesome. I didn't know that.
You do that? You wouldn't think
Didn't
I
know you
look
performed
stupid
in
and
plays.
secretly laugh at me. Would you?
Or did
You
I?
really think I'm that kind
Did you
of
do a
person?
Christmas? Were you part of a
Fine.
Christmas play
Vengeance
once?
will be mine.
Oh, no. Of course not.
I do remember that
Please teach me.
very vaguely,
There's no
but I
need for me
remember
to warn
something
you
about
again.
that.
Anyway, you just need to
That's
open
probably
the
been a couple
curtain
years
and you'll
ago.
be able to see the stage.
I was in Christmas Place for almost 20 years. Holy cow. I'm surprised you didn't go in a theater. Unlock and raise the crystal light.
Wait, what's that thing in the middle there?
That's my crystal light. It's been locked up.
Well, let's figure out a way to fix this. Looks like we need to raise the platform underneath the crystal light.
If I remember correctly, the stage controls should be somewhere around here.
I'm exploring a second. Like, what all is back here? Oh, that's right, we were supposed to go up there. Oh, we gotta find the mirror first. Where's the mirror? We need to find a mirror to install. Inch. Can't get up there. And I don't see the mirror to unlock the thing. Got to be around here somewhere. Okay, well that part's off limits. But not really.
Yep.
Why are we Collie all of a sudden? I do have her, but... maybe we leave and come back? I don't think we get to leave. So we have to find said mirror in order to rotate that thing. And if I follow the arrows, maybe it's a different colored clay mirror. The mirror will be flip summoned. You bring. I'm getting chips everywhere, apparently.
When I don't have much to keep me occupied, old thought patterns start to creep back in, and as soon as I start talking about it, the flashbacks start.
Alright, no more chips. I've had enough. I think I ate like half the can. Terrible.
According to today's Forest Patrol route map, we need to head here first, then make our way over to there?
Just don't know where it's at.
There's a lot of writing.
Rain, where's it at? I mean, that's obviously the thing we gotta shine it on, like right there. I can't collect that thing. But the mirror. I need a mirror for this thing. The pillow. Unlock and raise the crystal light. I have been looking around. I've been walking in circles. And it tells me to go here, but I have to have a mirror to unlock this. I can't find a mirror. It's hiding. Because it says I need it. Oh, maybe I don't need one. All lights removed? What? Never mind. It said at first I thought it made it sound like I needed one, but then I didn't need one. It's like equip such and such. But then I didn't need to equip anything.
To use the colorful lens to make the light change colors.
Oh. Never mind. Now I do need the colorful one. Now I have to install a brilliant mirror if I can find the freaking thing. Oh, it's on the ground. Now it appears. Oh. Hi, buddies.
Beg for mercy.
Like, what happens to my characters too? I'm not even playing as me. It's a very nice sword, though. Very, very nice. Nice sword indeed. Hi, beautiful people. Happy Friday. Happy Friday to you, too. Hope catch, guys.
That's one way of shining new light on the problem.
No, I haven't seen that emo.
No, never heard that name before. Why do you ask?
Oh, never mind then. I was just thinking you two would have a lot in common.
Back to the situation at hand. We should probably head into the passageway that opened now.
Yep. And collect all the things and the stuff. Words are hard, right? We'll catch.
Hello? Is anyone here? If you can
No
hear
one
me,
caught the
please help.
herder.
Lessig Lawrence?
Who are you? Who has the audacity to utter my full name?
You sure don't look like you're in any condition to be talking like that.
Yep. He's a member of the Lawrence clan, all right. Even though he's hanging on by a thread, he still insists on clinging to meaningless etiquette.
You. What are you doing here? Huh. Have you come here to mock me, Eula?
If you would just think for a moment, it should be pretty obvious why we are here. Yet, now you're intentionally trying to provoke me?
You're gonna
Of
save your
course,
butt.
you don't have to accept my help. After all, aristocrats are naturally superior and need no help from others.
Yes, thanks for the reminder. I don't need help from the likes of you.
I don't think he really means it, Eula. His tone was harsh, but he keeps glancing at you from the corner of his eyes. It's my opinion as the healer that he needs help.
Okay. He's been trapped for so long that it seems he's forgotten how to hold a decent conversation. How ridiculous. Let's go. We'll leave the stage to this person who'd rather save face than save his own life.
Hey, no, wait! Halt! You cannot just leave me here. We're both of the Lawrence bloodline after all. Helping me when necessary certainly won't tarnish your prestige. If anything, my embarrassing predicament will be overshadowed by your virtuous deed. We must uphold the prestige and dignity of the family.
He's
This
messed
is
up.
the best reason you could come up with? You think tacking on the word family will be enough to talk me into helping you? You should be ashamed for your careless actions. It's because of you that we all had to come here.
Seems everyone in the Lawrence clan is this way. They'll do anything to save face.
All right. Looks like it's time for the mascot to step in. Here you go. One for Eula and one for Lessig.
What is this? Candy?
No.
Thanks.
Oh,
Chill
the
pill.
smell. It's just like the aroma I smelled coming from the lens.
Yes, that's right. Enjoying something sweet always lightens the mood.
The chill pill.
Thank you, Miss Mascot.
You need to chill.
I certainly do feel much better now.
So he's willing to thank someone else, but not me.
Eula has been worrying about you the past few days and asked me several times regarding how to find you. But now that you two have been reunited, I won't have to keep answering her questions anymore. Oh, I'm so happy.
Let me clarify one thing. I don't care what happens to him. If you're going to keep saying nonsense like this,
Eula will never admit that she actually cares about. Yeah, you're probably right.
if you're going to keep saying nonsense like this, then at least give me another piece of candy.
Oh, sure. I still have more.
Sorry. I admit my mistake. I know I've caused heaps of trouble for all of you.
Yep.
Why couldn't you have just said that earlier?
I'm back. Oh? Have you already finished catching up? Why are you all looking at me?
Oh, nothing.
All
Don't
right,
mind us.
then let's clean things up here and keep working our way toward getting the crystal light fixed. Ah, there's no need to push yourself in your condition.
I'll take him and find some place for him to rest. I happen to be a little tired myself.
All right. I'll leave my cousin to you then. You'd better rest up and regain your strength
Lazy
before
girl.
we settle things, Lessig.
Gather summoner lights illuminated, unlock and raise the. Oh my god, we gotta find more of them.
Now, let's see if there's any way to keep raising the platform higher. We probably will need to find a mechanism that's like a lamp.
Yeah, it's like. Need one more lamp. Don't have a brilliant mirror yet. We need to look for one.
Strange. Is that really the Lessig that I know?
You shouldn't always judge people based on the way you knew them before. People change, and people can
Here they
always
are.
make different choices.
Oh, look! There's a water droplet over there!
Idolin! It must have been trapped in the curtain. But
Oh,
at least it
Hydro.
seems to be okay.
You ready? Gotta walk, doggo. Okay, good luck. Well, I yeeted out of Palia, but probably good because needs sleeps. You got yeeted out. Did the game crash? No. Do I even need this Hydrolay thingamajiggy? Looks like our path went away too, so I guess that's a no. Don't need it. Now we gotta go in there and do stuff. Get stuff. I don't know. Seems sus. Have a good chill game and stream KimonoKat and chat. Good night, Momo! Get some sleep. What? Oh, treasure chest. There we go. That one didn't do anything. That one made a platform. We'll go here. Oh, this one just took this out. I think. Yeah. Good night. And Momo, you're special. No! You're special. Mama. Mama, mama, mama. You're special. You know it. You know it. There we go.
Wow. Paimon thought it looked big from the outside. This place is massive.
It
This
is
place
a
is
magical
crazy
tent,
cool.
after all. The inside is much larger than it appears from the outside. Haven't you heard stories
Easy.
with this sort of thing before?
We gotta go up there. Shivers. Good night, Momo. Take care. Sleep well.
Oh, another path has appeared. This should be the last level.
Yes, don't worry. We're almost to the top of the tent. The last thing we need to do is raise the crystal light. After the stage collapsed, I realized that having it raised only halfway makes it look a lot like the stage at the Grand Bazaar.
No, I haven't.
I have. I've gone there a few times with Master Tainari. The place is bustling with all kinds of vendors.
Oh, a dance from Sumeru? I'd like to see that myself. If only it were on the way back, then we could stop there.
It doesn't matter if it's on the way or not. I would be happy to take you whenever you have time, Eula.
Great. I'll take you up on that offer.
Yeah. Now that Paimon thinks...
Really? My father used to help with festivities at the Grand. I was just a kid and didn't understand anything. I always thought my father was amazing. And
But aren't you a scholar in the academia, Maimuna? As far I doubt you could have time to assist your father in preparing festivities.
yeah, seems you read me. When I had the choice between becoming who I wanted to be and who my parents wanted me to be, I ended.
That's almost the
You must have already realized that. Why else would you set up all the booths here and make this place like a fairgrounds?
Yes, but I'm still not as happy as I imagined I would be. I realized that attending a fair and running a fair are two. The main reason my childhood was so fun and carefree is because my family worked hard. But my father knew how difficult and tiring running a fair could be, so he wanted to push me towards academics. But in the end, I gave up on myself and resorted to investigating ley lines in the desert. Some things happened, and then I accidentally ended up here. I finally had a chance to make my wish of running a fair come true.
It's not as bad as you make it out to be, Maimuna. You have the courage to change. And you've been someone who's given up on themselves could never do these things. Oh, Kale.
I understand my situation better than anyone. You don't need to try to comfort me.
It's not that I'm trying to comfort you. It's just that people sometimes don't realize that their actions speak louder than words. Believe me, this is something that I learned from my time together with Eula.
Oh, what are you trying to say?
Oh, nothing. Now, let's get that crystal light fixed.
All right.
Yep, less talking, more work, humans. Less talking, more. Yeah. You still need more lamps.
Colored pieces of the bolt have melted.
Yes, the lens is made of materials that are easily melted by light.
Is it me or do I smell something sweet here?
Wait. Meow. Now we'll go back this way. Try this. Just gotta rotate on that one. Maybe I gotta rotate it first? I don't know. 2 more lamps needed? What? It's gotta be in that other position. So that one doesn't have a light on it, does it? It looks like it does. Doesn't work. Yes. Bomb area. Unlock 1 padlock. You still need to remove 2. Back. And Brooke has some baby food with some immune system boosting vitamins. Good. Take care of the fur baby. To Ninetales. We'll catch Ninetales. Ew. Oh, here we go.
Yep.
Yo. Oh, I guess you're not supposed to hit those things. Oops. Rotate lamp. I could rotate it. Oh, there's one. Install. Do I rotate it?
Good. That should do it.
Oh, blue. Nice. Ninetales has been caught! Yay! We caught it! All 3 of us caught it! Beautiful catch. Now the whole fairground lights up. And now where are the workers?
Hey, it's Ida! We're back!
Oh, I was starting to wonder what was taking you so long. I'm pretty good at taking care of people.
I don't know if I should be worried for him or...
The shadow. It's massive. Wait. Shadow just now. It's...
Seems he still might need a little more time to recover.
Of course. With a team like the Traveler, Paimon, Kop...
Only 40 times more reliable? That
40
means I'm still
times.
pretty good then.
I guess it's impossible to feel like...
What has happened? How did I get outside of the tent? That's right. I remember meeting Eula, and then... my head.
Oh, you're awake now. Don't worry. That's just a side effect of your treatment, Lessig.
I'm afraid I still feel a little disoriented.
Scared to ask what kind of treatment you
Lessig
received?
Lawrence.
Whack on the head.
Oh, it's you, Eula.
As much as I want to chill and stay, I'm pretty exhausted and will lay down. Good luck with the bits. Thank you, Lady Rain. Get some rest.
Abandon my wild efforts to restore the Lawrence clan.
Interesting. Now you want to talk. Seems like you've had a change of heart. In that case, maybe you'll be able to explain it.
I admit it, yes. It was a long journey, and I didn't always know the way. But the peculiar thing is, you and I are like
Why?
such pompous. It's like a never-ending game of tug-of-war.
Paimon sorta understands.
Everything he said is true. Your family is probably unaware that you've already changed how you see things.
Yes, this has all happened recently.
And
Coming
hugs
to
to
this
Lady
domain, I
Rain.
realized the Mondstadt that I want is one where not everyone
hugs.
fears me. All that I and many other members of the Lawrence clan long for is a place where we...
Lessig,
Yes.
both you and I never had anything to do with the glory of the Lawrence clan. That is all in the past. We are just ordinary people.
I originally planned on returning to Mondstadt after taking...
See, people can always make different choices.
Yes,
That's all right. Being out to find true happiness is...
I have a
Find
suggestion
happiness.
for you, Lessig. Why don't you return to Mondstadt and tell your parents what you just told us?
they'll probably try to tear me limb from limb. But what about you? Did you ever tell your family about what you think?
This is something that I've been thinking about, too. Perhaps the two of us can sit down with the rest of the clan and discuss it with them. The Lawrence clan is just like this stage. It was once home to glorious performances, but those days are now long gone.
She's so solid and tough, but also clear and...
Are you all done talking now?
Yes, I
Yes,
think
please.
so.
Please
the
be
way,
done talking.
Oh, it's one of the missing components! Wait, so you had it all this time? Why didn't you give it to me earlier?
Well, you didn't ask.
Wait, this looks like... It looks pretty familiar. Have I seen one of these
Candy
before?
box.
Right. I also bought...
Yes, people often use this kind of box for candy at festivals. This was one of the materials originally used, but now that the tent has been repaired, eating the candy from the box as an adult will never be as delicious as it was when you were a kid.
Ah, so when it comes down to it, eating candy...
So, as of now, we've already collected 3 of... I'm sorry,
One
there
more
were
component to go. Yay. Now there's bubbles everywhere. Gonna go underground? That's what it looks like. Hey, there's one of those things. Also, what's wrong, dude? What's wrong? Come back. Turn. Investigate. Get some vegetables. Dude. One up there. We're gonna go up here. And then we'll jump over. Ooh. I don't know if we have to do this one. Maybe we do. How do I get up there? There we go. Oh yeah, run across. Grab this one. Wait. We have to come back up because I don't think we can jump. Not like that far. Maybe we can, I don't know. Kinda. Boop. Then you come here and you light it up. Yay! We got a treasure chest.
Ooh, maybe I could curl up and...
What? And promos. And then we're supposed to go back to the tent because there's like a big treasure chest there now. And there's a thingamajig with no thingamajig. All kinds of stuff. Which way did we come from? Did we come from down there? No. There's the tent. And we unlocked a treasure chest by the tent, but I don't remember how to get back to the tent. This way, right? But how did we get over there? The bridge, okay. Are you enjoying the music, Jeff? Dancing? Okay. Because apparently we unlocked a treasure chest at the thing, and we had to come all the way back to go get it.
Coming through!
I forget that a little bit. Since the water drop we saved a while back, maybe.
Pretty, but how do we get in there? Another lamp fixed. Thanks a bunch. Okay, so do we point the lampy thing at it? Huh? Do we get a water droplet to help us? I don't know. I don't know. Why did it make us come all the way back here and then I can't even figure it out? Maybe it happens later. After we do a couple more things, I bet. I don't know. Maybe you have to save another water droplet. I bet that's it. To save another one behind a screen. And then you could do it. There's scissors. Those things. Ooh. Oh, well, we'll come back to here. We'll do what we're supposed to do. Teleport.
Hey, Kokomi! You're already here!
Kokomi!
Oh, you're back. I trust your adventures to the forest went smoothly?
Yep, you could say that. How about you?
Well, I suppose it's time I told you that as the divine priestess of Watatsumi Island, I shouldn't actually be here now. The truth is that a relic known as the Shinro Casket was lost from Watatsumi Island long ago, but recently, an orb matching the relic's description suddenly began emitting light, almost as if it was guiding people to it. I wasn't lying when I said that. Goro has often told me that sitting at home reading light novels is not the best of practices,
Purrline!
and that I should try to get out more.
Look at
As I made my
Purrline.
way from Watatsumi Island to Sumeru, I was surprised to find that the relic had ended. Though I feel that Idia was not intentionally trying to hide anything from us, this domain does have plenty of secrets.
Now that you mention it, a lot did.
What happened today?
I see. I'm afraid that he was caught up in his...
Hey, everyone! Oh, I hope we're not interrupting your conversation.
It's alright. You two did a lot today. Care to join me for a
Sure! That would be...
Turns out Idia has a cooking stove and oven. Seriously.
Oh, so did you make a
No. I made something called
She made
storm
weird
crust pie.
pies.
You should try one, traveler.
And I made some pita pockets. You could try some, Kokomi. It should... sorry. I should call you General.
Oh, I would be happy to try some.
By the way, Eula, how's your cousin doing now?
Oh, him. You would never...
He's been busy. Busy. Busy, he says. Busy, 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 he says. Oh, jeez. Okay. Blast. What? What? Children of the Bark Fox. Dance with flashing thoughts. Bing bang pinch. This. Go to quest. You have to do these to get the thing. Hi JJ! Boop! Oh, hello, hello! How are you doing? Welcome. Boop the bot! Boop the bot. Yep. There you go. I booped Jeff. So, yeah. See who I burned. Death as well! Apparently. Are these what I'm supposed to do? Attractions. This is so colorful and pretty. Request. Finish the cuteness. Rocks, water cans, or talk to the German elegant battle dance. 1,000 theaters. Oh man, there's so much stuff. You booped yourself? No! There you go. Oh, apparently I can only boop Jeff. Let's see. And Splash Lady Rain. Hug bots. Yep, no. No luck. But how are you? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Shane, what's wrong? What's wrong, Shane? Feeling left out. Worst. Complete. Now we're on to the third part. Yay! Let's work on things. Got new things and things. Oh, okay. So yeah, now I gotta go get this other whole thing. Another whole thing. We didn't even do dailies today. Oops. Those are the things we unlocked. Part 3. Okay. Wait until 8 a.m. No hugs for me. Plus, I'm resetting up Retro Arch because the Steam version I was using was kind of borked and tedious. Oh, jeez. I mean, we can try. No, my hugs are Retro.
No peeking at customers' stuff.
No hugs for Shane, it looks like. Just everything else. Terrible. There you go, you finally got some hugs, Shane. Only took a bazillion tries. Yeah, JJ! There you go. Shout out to JJ! You're keeping awesome.
Whoa, the scenery here is wonderful. I've landed the perfect job.
And we will go. Actually, wrong button. This says 8 time. Confirm. We fixed that.
I wonder what's inside this
Oh,
package.
the following morning
No,
is
no, no.
nighttime.
No peeking
We
at
gotta do
the
it a little
customer's
more.
stuff.
Playing with time. Da, 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 da. Maybe we went too far. I don't know. There we go.
Treehouse Theater. Teleport. Taking away the moments that make up a dull day. Dong. Now wait and kind of float down. So we don't want to die. There we go.
Really? You do
Filter
that?
wastes the hour of an
But
offhand
that's too much.
way.
I can't.
No, really, it's all right. We wanted to.
Yes, and to be...
Oh? What happened? Did Paimon miss something?
Hello, you two. Lessig was just telling us.
Perhaps you should allow me to... I'm afraid it was I who caused all this.
Yes.
It was.
To be
Oh,
precise, I
no.
saw a most exquisite water orb at the entrance of the domain. It reminded me of an astrolabe my grandfather gave me when I was 7. I was curious if it could rotate, so I reached out and touched it. Little did I know that it was the core of this entire domain.
Oh no!
What I mean to say...
It's not just your fault. I failed in my responsibilities as the caretaker here.
Oh, you mean the big? Yes, that's the one. Anyway, after giving it some thought, but we were concerned he wouldn't.
But don't be mistaken. I'm.
Oh,
Go fix it.
sure. I don't think anyone's buying that anymore, Eula. Right. You bet.
Either way, Lessig is
Last
going
chance
to
to
be.
redeem himself.
Do my best.
What was that?
I mean... Thank...
Very good. But you should
Seems Adia has a little more pep in her step after fun.
Now that
No.
you three are situated, I'll go gather the others. We should get ready to leave as soon as possible.
Let's leave.
And there she goes. Maybe this is how it feels.
Waiting a while, you head to the location and find the component together with. These are first encounters. Start. Wow! How are we supposed to get over there? You guys are mean. You gotta make me play hide and seek to get this thing. Okay. Found one. Oh, there's the other. Found you. Now where's your friend? Should be pretty close. Two of you. I don't see your little bubbly friend. Are they up high? Are they behind the boxes? The jumpy thing. Oh, there it is. There we go. Yay!
Now we can get that one.
Wow, I've never seen half the stuff in here before.
Where's the choo-choo thing at? I don't remember. Can we get on the choo-choo thing to go over there? Maybe not. Oh, you can switch like that? Oops. Dang. Gonna lay down and lurk for a while. Okay. Have a good lurk. Juicy. Rest. All the good things. It's cute. I go up and over that way. That's not gonna help me get over there, is it? It's literally that way.
Whoa, the scenery here is wonderful. I've landed the perfect job.
There we go.
Life goes on. Opening box of Adepti tricks. Here!
Daya needs to get this. A wild Tyrant. I was just gonna say that statue looked like a Tyrant. Which is kind of crazy. Look like a Tyrant to anybody else? Totally did to me.
Coming through! Right here, please!
Maybe I'll catch it.
I call dibs.
Maybe I'll catch it. Okay. Now we're gonna come over here. Can we call it from here? Current under maintenance. Please hit again. Oh, the ride is ready? You mean we get a walk? Wow. I don't think we were supposed to go under the tracks. Okay, where's the team meeting? There it is. There's one of the things we need. There's some bubbles. He needs attack. He needs some help.
This dance is for you.
Love you. Come on, let's go. There you go. Bless you, thank you.
no.
We're going to retrieve the last missing component. My working theory is that the director listed on the sign has it.
Ah, no detail slips by our general.
What's a director?
A director is a kind of job. The one we're looking for is named Zosimos. Zosimos is responsible for managing everything that happens on the stage. Similar to how Itea is responsible for managing the whole realm.
Before I get too far.
Wow! Sounds like Miss Idea must be way busier.
You'd think so, wouldn't you? Care to comment on that at all, Idea?
Maybe someone else can explain. I'm just enjoying taking it easy, as
What are
usual.
you doing up here? Yes. Who knows? What? They want me to go this way. They're all trying to tell me, go this way. And y'all are all disturbed by this creature sitting here. And okay, but now we're like, Yes. They want to line up perfectly. There you go. There we go. Made it.
The director doesn't get out much. He's almost always cooped up in his treehouse making props or writing scripts. But I'm trying to remember now. Where is that treehouse of his?
Huh?
Hey, don't forget!
I believe it's that way.
Yep. Or rides.
Though he might prefer to be alone. Given he and having a view of the entire stage would be useful when. So if I were him, I'd probably.
But how do you know which direction the theater is in?
Simple. The overall layout and decoration.
Oh, good point!
Summon cart. Fourth cart. Get ready. All the little shortcuts. What's going on over here? Bubbles? You're not allowed out. Aw, more hide and seek. They like to hide and seek a whole bunch. That's one. That's two. And the other should be close by. Outside of the area. Oh, I see it. I have to climb up though. Great. There we go.
Let me help you pack this.
Got it. Now I can go up here. To the yellow thing. Fancy door there you got. You around here we want to read any books? No books? We don't get to pick up any books? Okay.
Where did that blasted automation mechanism go?
You know?
Who's that?
Yes, Sosimos! 'Tis I!
This is a surprise.
Curled up in a
Simos?
fetal position, crying to yourself?
Wow, what a fascinating little creature.
The name's Paimon. I know, Paimon's no mind reader. Just call it an...
It seems
I knew from the start that a managerial role wasn't for me. But I found...
Mascot? Is that a new role? I don't remember casting you for that.
Okay, enough about me. I'm just here to introduce you.
I'm just here to introduce my friends. Stuff about me.
And that's why we came to see you.
I do. I'm afraid the incident has caused many malfunctions with the stage mech.
Okay, so you're holding the component ransom till we help you fix the mechanisms, huh?
No. Till we fix this...
I'd have thought he wants us to make some more props, no?
Or maybe the component is broken and we...
You're all forgetting that the majority of his work involves writing scripts. I'll wager that he wants us to edit them.
What has gotten into you all? What sort of person do you take me for? Although I was hoping that... you're a big group. I have lots of...
Ush, I want to help.
Also, truth be suddenly, I got my...
Huh? You mean that...
Yes, really. Just give me a little time, and I'll write it all up. In the meantime, I'll leave things to you, Edea.
Whoa, and he's off to write this...
Zosimos has always wanted to write an epic story about a thief and a mage. Apparently, why don't you all take some time for yourselves while I...
Now it's time for a short
A
performance.
director, my friends, is a storyteller. And the key ingredient to every good story, the heroine, was the missing...
We're supposed to be looking for components. We're
Well,
putting on a production.
Director Zosimo?
Let me see. Ah, that's sojourn. It means to stay for a while. This is a very cute moment, so let's make sure that comes through in the performance.
Oh, wait. There's another word I don't know here.
It's okay, Kleeeee. We can go through your lines together a few more times after this meeting's over.
That would be most appreciated, Kaya. I had a feeling about you.
You're too kind.
Oh, you think so? If I make it as a big-time...
What can I say?
Great. Fantastic. If you need me for anything...
Wonder what the theaters are like here.
LOL. What,
Check
Six?
it out while
What?
everyone's still getting ready.
Yeah, we'll go check it out while everybody's still getting ready. Yeah. Wait. We're supposed to go up here? Meow. Follow the blurb. Oh. Follow the blurbs. Yay!
Let me help you pack this up.
Yeah, there's a statue there. Well, let me hit F on it. I guess I gotta break it. There we go.
more things instead. Alright, let's do done. Waypoint unlocked. Treasure chest here, but I don't see the little guys to unlock it. Blurps. Blurps. Pink blurp. More pink blurps. Oh! Destiny wandering. Grim show! Okay. What the heck is that? Giant water squirrel? Probably. I don't want to bring out Kali to hit that. Oh, more projector stuff.
Where did it go? I put it right here.
Hey, Zosimos! What you up to?
Oh, it's you, please. Come here. Feast.
So, directors have to design the stage too?
Oh, I'm no.
Sounds like a lot of.
Edea has her work cut out for her
Does
too.
sound like a lot of
Well,
work.
she just says what she thinks. You don't know how to write, or this is getting. But even though she's my harshest critic, she's also been my biggest supporter in a lot of ways. I'm very
Everybody's
grateful
so
to her.
negative.
So, what did you do before you.
Like I said, from a young age, every time I came home after a show, unfortunately, I couldn't offer much beyond my practical skills. So I ended up spending most of my time as a prop designer. Don't get me wrong, I do love building the set.
Wild
But
Inkay?
nothing satisfies me more.
No wonder you only wrote director on the
Look at
sign.
Inkay.
Exactly. You're not doing a. By the way.
The one you only just.
Yeah. After I. If it's not here. But. I still.
No problem. We'll
Find it. Find it we shall. Higher. Go back up higher. Oh, there's stuff up there. Get up there. That's so weird. The boxes are moving. You guys are trouble. So it's like it's up that way? So how do I get up higher than this? I don't know. Ooh. Okay. Do that. Aha. Here we go. Investigate the treehouse. Okay, escape.
Whoa! Look at all these books! Now, where's the master script?
Probably above our heads.
Oh, it sounds like a water droplet is on the second floor. Let's go have a look.
Yep. Second floor. We'll find these water droplets. Terrible.
Wow. This is a lot of... Looks like the water droplet has been managing them for the director. Most of them... Then it should be the one that's... This is the only script that fits the bill. Let's go give it to Director Zosimos. Zosimos, we got your script!
Ah, thank you. That's a huge help. I'm running out of time here. There's no way I'll be able to fix everything up perfectly. We may just have to wing it. Anyway, the stage is secondary. The performance is what really matters.
You don't sound very confident in what you're saying.
It's true.
Yeah.
I realize now, even if you have the same actors performing on the same stage, the performance will be slightly okay. The truth is that now, of course, preprints are really meant for making but Edea said...
So that's what you meant.
I'd like the Traveler to go into the preprint set and help move props around during the performance. The reason is...
Oh, Paimon gets it now. If you're busy
Yes. Even if it really is a half-baked...
Hard to turn a guy down after a speech like...
Thank you.
We're moving stuff around. We're in the middle of the performance. Crazy. Crazy talk. Just got home from...
Long ago, there was a great thief.
Hours?
He lived in a land where the light did not shine.
Work?
Where all suffered in the darkness.
Home from work?
People call me...
Sorry, Kaya. Directly into the microphone, please. Otherwise your voice will... you know.
Okay. They call me the Dagger Bandit, but no one sees that I rob the rich and give to the poor. Here in the dark, evildoers run rampant in the shadows, while the good, honest folk stumble blindly on, just trying to find a way through.
Just hit space.
As the bandit brooded, suddenly the world was inexplicably changed.
Guesswork.
As a single star appeared
was the
on
part
the
of the
horizon
bandit
and
fake crew
flew
once? It
across the
was
sky.
tiring? Oh
Traveler,
no.
stomp on that movement mechanism in front of you.
Light. A brief flash, yet enough to illuminate the world. If I can find the source of that light, I can shine it into the darkness, and the people will suffer in blindness no longer.
Let's go.
Without a moment to spare, he set off to follow the star's course. All the while, the star kept moving through the sky. Traveler, the star kept moving through the sky.
And then we're gonna stand here. So this thing can go. Come on.
Looks like I have to go through the desert.
Yes.
This could get dangerous.
If everything he'd heard was to be believed, the desert ahead was a no-man's land filled with horrors. Worse still, the star had landed in the most difficult-to-reach location, surrounded by sheer cliffs. But he was determined to press on.
Night-night.
I've come this far, and I'm not about to turn back now.
You work late, Shade. Very late. Dang.
The dagger bandit trekked deep into the desert wasteland. Yet when he finally arrived at his destination, he found not a fallen star, but a young girl dressed in white.
How strange. I'm positive this is where the star landed. Young lady, do you know where the light has gone?
The girl replied,
I just make all the stars wiggle.
Afar, the light
I
you
get a
seek
hard
is
job.
only a bottled flame, but the flame has now died, and its light is long gone.
Bottled flame?
Yes, it was a gift from another.
and so the girl began to tell the story of how the bottle came into her possession. The girl hailed from a kingdom that sat atop the waterfalls. But when the reigning dynasty fell and a new one seized power, she and her people fled for their lives. A thick fog began to fill the air as she made her way through the forest, and dense thickets tried to block her path. There is a mechanism down there that you can press to retract the thicket board below the stage.
Pressing it. Go. What's going on here? We're telling a story and we're doing all the behind the scenes mechanisms in a performance.
Then I could survive.
And there's no like fast skip
With
stuff.
scratches covering her arms and legs, the girl pressed through the pain and made her way forward. The road ahead was arduous, but she was
I'm
determined
sure if I back
to
out, I
press
have to do it
onward.
all over again, so.
I've come this far, and I'm not about to turn back now.
And I'm not about to turn back. Then we gotta come up here.
But just as she was drawing near her destination, a huge stretch of thorns and brambles suddenly came into view. Despair set in and began to weigh on her heart.
If only someone could help me, I would give anything in return.
The
Now I'm
girl's
wiggling
heartfelt
stars.
wish in her moment of desperation did not go unheard.
Wait! There's no mechanism for the final thicket!
Ugh, I must have forgotten to check those boards.
According to the story, those thickets should be gone from the stage now, right?
Yes, total oversight on my part. What a pain.
I can help! Traveler! Cat! Ah, it's a Jumpy Dumpty!
The girl's heartfelt wish did not go unheard, for a Jumpy Dumpty, who was passing by, helped to clear a path for her.
There we go.
Thank you, Jumpy Dumpty.
I felt like it got really quiet for a minute.
And so the girl continued her journey deeper into the forest. But what she found there was not a lamp, but a mage glowing with fire.
Yup.
So, just to clarify, it was supposed to be the mage who helped burn a path through the thicket.
Save it for the end, man!
The mage took pity on the girl and handed her a bottle. Then, the mage began to tell the story of how the bottle came into her possession. The fiery mage had an adventurous spirit and enjoyed taking long journeys. On one such journey, while taking rest in an oasis, she found a beautiful bottle by a crescent-shaped lake.
Kleeeee, quick, get in the light.
She was an extraordinary mage with the power to grant people their wishes. She turned the bottle into a thing of equally extraordinary power. But the only place that it could make wishes come true was inside of the bottle.
Oh me, oh my! Look at this wonderful bottle of mine! It could make a fine toy! But better still, a sojourner's home!
The fiery mage blew into the bottle, allowing it to grant one single wish outside its glass walls.
Oh, am I supposed to blow into it? Wow, it lit up!
A flame was kindled within the bottle, and it began to glow a fiery red. Just
A lot of star wiggling.
After the mage finished telling her story, she disappeared, leaving only the bottle behind.
A magic bottle that can grant wishes. And I wish to leave this place and go somewhere where no one will ever find me again.
And then, the bottle seemed to softly inquire.
I don't know.
The flame in the bottle faded as the girl's single wish was granted, and she found herself in the middle of the desert, far away, where no one could ever find her.
And she's inside the bottle?
The Dagger Bandit listened to her story. He sighed in disappointment that the flame with the power to grant wishes outside of the bottle had already died.
But this doesn't make sense. If it truly granted my wish, then nobody should have been able to find me here.
Maybe they shouldn't. The desert is difficult and dangerous to navigate, but I was determined to make it, no matter what.
Then take this bottle
Okay.
with you for your trouble. It may be able to grant you your wish, though sadly, only within the confines of the bottle itself.
All I wish for is light.
Honoring the bandit's request, the girl wished for light inside the bottle, and sure enough, it lit up. They found that while the light was only generated within, it could nonetheless shine through the glass and reach anywhere in the outside world.
Even though it doesn't burn.
What happens if I don't hit F?
Shown before, this is
I just let it be.
extraordinary light. What will you do after I take the bottle?
I don't know.
Maybe I don't have to sit there and push the
You
button.
should come back with me.
With no reason to refuse, the girl accompanied the Dagger Bandit back to the land where the light did not shine. They brought light to that place, and the darkness was dispersed, and they lived happily ever after.
I don't think you have to hit F the whole time. Oh.
And we're done! Seems the show went pretty well.
Miss Honorary Knight! Didn't I do great? I felt like I really was the fiery mage!
Wow, great costume, Kleeeee! As soon as Paimon saw your shadow, she thought straight away, what a cute hat!
Klee loves it! Thanks, Mr. Zosimos!
Like her other outfit.
Mr. Director?
Now I get it.
Huh. No one's ever called me that before.
Miss Adia said that she tailored it a little bit so it would fit me.
Yeah, that's amazing! And it sounds like Adia did a great job too!
It was nothing really. Just one of those,
Sewing is an art in its own right. You're more talented.
really? Oh, I'm just gonna go for a second.
She's gonna go cry.
Easily.
Edia's a sensitive person.
Don't worry. I'll go make sure she's okay.
So, what did you all think of the...
Can we have the component now?
Uh-oh.
Oh, absolutely. I had the courage to ask.
Okay, Paimon will go first. So, So, the dialogue at the beginning was pretty good, but it ran out of steam as the story went on. Paimon could tell that you ran out of inspiration somewhere. The characters were honestly a little bit ridiculous. Paimon didn't get what you were trying to do. The moment...
Yes, all very good points, Paimon. I would have...
Miss Adia, what are you doing?
Oh, you know, I return like the tide when people start discussing something important.
No one conquer it. No.
But there was one thing I liked. You think so?
Adia, could I borrow you for a moment?
Oh, sure. Excuse me for a moment. Back to you, Paimon. Keep up the good criticism.
Okay, in that case, Paimon did have one...
Let's hear it. Taking criticism on the chin.
The ending was all wrong. The girl's motives were clear and simple the whole way through. It was kind of jarring. And doesn't anyone else find it weird how her whole community was on the run? But she was...
I'm fine. I'm not going to improve without feedback. I just learned a lot this time with the chance to be off stage.
What a great attitude.
I wouldn't say I'm...
Still, now that Paimon thinks...
That's perfectly fine. We all use our imagination. Fast forward to now.
Yo.
And of course, a director can accomplish...
What?
Hey, don't mention it. We have...
Okay.
Yay! The component! The part we've been waiting for. Thank goodness. It's a lamp? Interesting.
It's the bottle from the show! The one that lit up when I blew into it.
That's right. Can you guess the secret behind why it lights up?
Oh, maybe there's an invisible...
Bingo!
That should do the trick. Oh, wait. This needs tightening up.
This outfit's more fashionable than I imagined.
Oh.
Excuse me, everyone. Do you have a moment? Especially you, Zosimos. Idia wants to do a little something for you.
A dream come true?
Yes. She said that as useless as she is, she wants to do something for you as the first person to have heard of your dream of being a director. Her words, not mine. I have to disagree, though. I have never thought of Idia as a useless person.
How is this unlikely? If everybody is ready, then I'd like to invite tonight's male lead to take the stage. Ta-da!
Wow!
Cool! Kaya's turned into the real Dagger Bandit!
How is me changing outfits supposed to make the director's day? It's just a prototype costume. Is he that easy to please?
Don't be silly. If I know our director, nothing will make him happier than to see his ideas brought to life by the right actor.
Well, then I'm happy to oblige.
Zosimos drew up countless designs and made a few prototypes before landing on this one.
Oh, it's... Oh, I'm so touched.
How are you doing? Recovered?
Oh, I'm good.
Oh, please, don't mention it.
Can I keep wearing my costume?
Please do, by all means. Both of you can keep your costumes. It seems only fair.
Yay! Kaya, keep wearing yours too. It looks amazing. I agree with our mage. I'm sure it's not every day you get to play such an unforgettable character.
Sure. I think I can be a bandit.
Bye-bye, Mr. Director.
Artist!
Take care, my dear friends.
Yay! We finally finished. Now we gotta head to the thing. To there. Can we go here to get to there, maybe? Teleport. This might be the... Da-da-da-da-da.
saying? How are you tonight, artist? How's life treating you? How's the work? How's school? Things are going well for you. Ooh, treasure chest.
Did someone drop their package?
Good thing we came this way. Oh, we collected more too. There's so many you can collect to get promos. Dang. I'd spent so much time just exploring and getting all those things. To get how many more? Yeah. 90 more. And then what's this one? Oh, that's the mini game thing. They sucks they came to have you as the background while they work on a poem. Good luck on your paper.
Yes. Idia had the
I
water
hope it
droplets
gets better
send us a message
tomorrow.
just
Tomorrow's
as the show was
Saturday.
coming to an end. So we came back here to wait for you.
I'm doing good. I think most everybody went to sleep though. Six is here, lurking. Jane and Rain and Momo went to sleep. They're tired.
I feel a little guilty.
Consider it his atonement. It's only fair that he had to do something constructive before
I think
being able to
everybody's
sleep
tired.
soundly.
I know I
Seriously,
am.
don't waste your concern on him.
If you say so.
Isn't this where we first met Water Droplet?
Correct! The core of the Valerian Mirage is the largest streaming projector of all. And this domain is one gigantic preprint.
Whoa, so everything we've seen is created by this? So to fix it, same process as usual, right? Do we need to use the preprint?
Exactly! Well done. You catch on.
It's hard to forget after doing it so many times now.
Let's get going.
Right?
Yay! Suddenly pipe.
They'll be excited.
Components. All you need to do is place them onto the foundation in the right shape.
The right shape? But we've never seen what it looks like.
Oh, don't worry about it. Close enough will do, as long as it... No peeking at my customer's stuff.
Core component. Okay. We do it? I think. Maybe? Hmm.
Let me see... Okay, let's get going. The next location on my list is really far away.
I don't know. I don't know how this works.
That doesn't get happy. Maybe? Hmm.
I wonder what's inside this package. No. No peeking at my customer's stuff.
Kinda looks right. Maybe the gear thingy here. And then the bottom component, the lamp. Isn't that kind of crazy? It's all the pieces? Yeah, that kind of looks right.
But why isn't it turning?
The components are back in the core, and the hub is restored to its proper shape again.
No.
That's all.
Thank you for the follow!
The wound, it just needs time to heal.
Thank you.
It'll
Welcome
probably
to
just
the
start turning again
stream.
one day in the middle of the night when no one's looking.
Really? I thought that with your special abilities, you could get it turning again right away.
Thank you. The posture check. Water. Yes.
All of us are dying to see it. Not just how the domain looks when it's filled, but also Edea
Stretch.
in her element.
Thank you.
Edea using her magic.
How are you doing? I hope you're doing awesome.
Super awesome. What are you guys talking
Chatterbug.
And how is Kleeeee on this? But
Maybe we'll catch it.
They're referring to our mascot's true form.
as I've said all along, there's much more to Edea than she gives herself credit for. She has a very special power. Though, I think some of us have sensed that already. Did you notice?
We should have got coffee. Yes. Do you have any you can make?
So our general was the first to notice. It seems like she's more perceptive than she lets on.
I'd say the same about you, Kaya.
I do?
What the?
Maybe make some coffee then. Do you have to work on it tonight? Or do you get to sleep and work on it tomorrow? Or are you just a night owl?
Stumble upon this place by accident?
You have to leave at 9 a.m. Oh no.
I don't want people
You'd have no time on your side, do you? This week, no, I feel that. I had that for like 2 weekends in a row and 2 weeks in a row. It's been crazy.
What does everyone know about it?
This, well, 3 weeks in a row. So hopefully this weekend I can rest a little.
Elemental energy
Hopefully.
in residents here, but none of them have visions. Then my mind started to wander as I was reading a storybook, and suddenly I had a thought. Since hydroidolins can change into any form, why not human form?
You hit the nail on the head. All right. In that case, please allow me to introduce myself once more. I am an Oceanid who was exiled here when the former Hydro Archon passed away. My name is Edea.
Ooh. An ocean.
Wow, Edea! You're so pretty!
Now that I'm in my true form, I suddenly feel a little embarrassed talking to you all.
You look stunning. You should be flaunting this look at every opportunity.
Oh, come on. I'm too shy.
Wait, so does this mean that all the people we met in here are actually
I'm guessing that the human counterparts to these Hydro alter egos are long gone.
That's right. When they wanted to leave, I took them to the edge of the desert. The components are, in fact, gifts that they gave to me before they left. But I'm always curious about what brings people here, so I used the streaming projector to bring their wishes to life.
The power to grant wishes, but only within the confines of the bottle.
Exactly.
It's a truly extraordinary light.
I've just realized something. When the components fell from the core, it appeared as if they had returned to their respective owners. But actually, it was after the components landed where they did that their owners and the things associated with them arose around them to form the different zones.
So now that the components have been retrieved, does that mean that all those things are gone?
They'll be quite safe. As long as I remember them, they'll never disappear. However much we might criticize each other or get into scuffles, in this mirage, they will always be my friends.
Interesting.
I had so much fun in the choo-choo cart and hanging out with Mr. Director. I'll never forget them either. Me neither. I'll always remember my adventures in this fantasy land.
Very good. But it's probably time I set this wheel in motion.
This one's all yours, Adia, our magical mascot.
She's a mascot after all.
Please work.
Huh? That's strange. Nothing happened. Has it lost some power because of the incident?
Nope.
Oh, crumbs. Not now. Not right off the back of everyone putting me on a pedestal and me acting like this is going to be my big moment. Give me a bottle. I'm hiding myself away. See you in 100 years.
You're already in a bottle.
You are already in a bottle.
Now, this was the only way. Now I'll never be able to show you how the Valurium Mirage is supposed to look.
Hold on. I have an idea.
Yes, General Sangonomiya. I'm all ears.
If it's okay with you, would you let me borrow the Shinro casket from the domain's core?
Ah, the Shinro casket. That sounds familiar. 1 second. Here. Is this it?
Yeah.
Wow! A huge
Yeah.
shell! It's the relic that Kokomi mentioned earlier! So this is where it's been hiding! It was once a ritual vessel used for making offerings in the Moon Shrine. It's made from the remains of a yokai called the Shinkiro, and it can listen to the wishes of those who come to pray to build up Shinki, which gives it its power. Several centuries ago, the relic was lost when the last prefect of Yashiori died in battle. Its final resting place was... And the pearl that goes with it should be able to sense the casket's location. But when, unbeknownst to anyone at the time, the casket disappeared inside the core of the Valurium Mirage, the pearl's light died out.
Huh? How come?
No pearl.
Well, imagine it was a sound instead of light. If the room is too big, you can't hear anything from outside the door, can you?
Oh, I get it now. The shell must have been having too much fun one day and got locked in the solitary confinement.
Oh, Kleeeee.
The core has been wearing out.
Of course it did.
That's why you were able to follow the pearl.
Oh, gosh.
To get back to the story, without the offerings at the shrine, this vessel quickly loses its power. Yet countless people who have visited this domain brought their wishes with them, and left a small piece of themselves behind along with their gifts. These have the same effect as the offerings at the shrine.
Wow! I never knew this thing was so powerful.
It is. Powerful enough to help you repair the Valyria Mirage with any luck.
But what do I do with it?
It's simple. We just need to awaken it by telling it what we wish for. For example, my name is Sangonomiya Kokomi, the divine priestess of Watatsumi Island. And my wish is to use my critical thinking and strategic planning skills to bring a little more joy into the lives of my fellow Watatsumi Islanders, as well as the lives of everyone I cherish. Dia, what do you wish for?
Me? My wish is that all those who have sojourned to the Valyria Mirage in the past will achieve what they truly wish for. Not just in this domain, but out there, too. Even though I know full well that trying to build a railway in the outside world is just a pipe dream, and that Maimuna will probably just go back to being a scholar. And I know that Zosimos has a lot of improving to do as a playwright. It's going to be tough for him back in Fontaine. Chasing your dreams is hard work. Despite all of that, I still hope that somehow, someday, they will achieve their dreams.
Do it.
Okay, the combined power of our hopes and dreams is at your disposal.
Look! The wheel's been fixed!
Exited it.
Come on, hurry!
Back in her regular form.
Yay! Dia, you're back to normal!
Everyone's praise and curious questions went to my head. I said so many things I'm so ashamed of, and I lost the courage to live on.
Please don't say that. Yours was a noble wish.
Yeah, and you weren't granting wishes for yourself. You did it for other people. I have friends like that too. Other people's hopes and dreams are what motivate them. They'll work tirelessly just to see them smile. If you ask me, that's one of the most noble things a person can aspire to.
Please, no more praise. I'm really not comfortable with it. It makes me feel so ashamed.
Don't be ashamed.
Me doesn't deserve so many people's praise.
Yeah, you do.
At least the domain is fixed now, and all the components are back in.
What's the matter, Klee?
I suddenly have loads and loads of more wishes. I want to ride the choo-choo cart again and look down from up on top of the big wheel. Is there a way to get up on top of the wheel, Idea?
There is a way, but there's only space for a very few people.
That's okay. I can go up by myself. But it'd be more fun with Miss Honorary Knight.
Are we sure about this?
Paimon's gonna fall off.
Yeah, but Paimon's just worried for you.
Don't worry, I'll be there.
Paimon's
to make sure
food.
no one
It'll be
falls.
fine.
I haven't been up.
It's fine. Paimon's food.
How do we get up there? Do we just climb? I guess.
A wild Bahim? Bahim? Go catch. That's the weird little alien looking dude. I remember what he looks like.
Razor wants to join. There we go.
What do we do now? Get to the central hub wheel. Quest area reached. Okay. Oh, you gotta catch a ride on one of the little thingamajigs? Interesting. How do we do that? I don't know. Like this? No! No! This is not what I want to do. Let's figure out how the heck to get on these little points. Oh, God. It's like a Ferris wheel, but how do you get on it? Please wait for the ride to arrive and remember to follow safety. Okay, well if I wait for the ride to arrive, then what the heck do I do to get on it? Like this? No. I'm gonna fall again. So do you just like jump on those little things? I don't even know. How am I supposed to do that? And just get on this part? Nope. It won't let you. Says no. Okay, so I'm here. Okay. There we go. Finally. Ride to the top. Okay, we're gonna ride to the top.
This creepy as heck.
Wow! So high! I can see everything! It's
Yeah, I don't like
next
this.
time you need to bring Kaya and the others up here. Sure thing. Huh?
Do I have to fly over there? Not seen.
Whenever people have to leave this domain, I like to come up here and spend some time alone after I've seen them out. They're always overjoyed when they first arrive and start bringing their imaginations to life. But once they realize that they can't take anything home with them, they get upset. Some of them can't bear to leave. Others regret ever setting foot in this place.
Do you ever get sad, Idia?
I feel lonely at times, but not sad. A lot of people destroy everything they created before leaving, but some don't, like the residents you met. Before they left, they asked me to make replicas of themselves using hydro-eidolons. Then they tasked these replicas.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I don't know how they're faring in the outside world, but just the thought that one day they might achieve their dreams and live on the outside just as it feels like I'm here waiting for them. Really? I just think that every dream, every wish is like a flame in a bottle. Whether someone is still working towards their dream or living it already, as long as whenever they think back to that spark of light within them, it still makes them smile fondly.
That's well, I feel super happy right now.
Then I guess I finally paid Alice back after all these years. Funny to think I've been in the middle of a desert this whole time. It's just a giant muddy swamp to me.
Time for Paimon to give you a nickname! Mud Fairy! Watch out for the Mud Fairy!
How dare you mock me! Roar! I'll gobble you up in one mouthful! I'm still embarrassed to have shown you my uglier side, but I'm glad the Valorium Mirage is up and running again. This place is going to be bustling with activity again soon.
Yep! I want to get everyone together for one last ride on the choo-choo cart.
Oh boy. Complete. Yay!
I wonder what's inside this package. No. No peeking at my customers' stuff.
Let's see. Well, it says there's one of those things around here. I don't know. Can't see it. There's the projector. Don't see it anywhere. Wasn't here. Oh, it says it's higher up. I missed it. I guess it was up there somewhere. Now there says there's one down there. There's that one. And then, where are we going to? Oh. That's it. We're good. We never made it to that area. Underground. Yay! We're not quite done with that? Or is it? Oh yeah, it's done. Completed. So how do you get Kleeeee? You have to complete everything to get Kleeeee? Like the event guides. Rules. Using 3. Traditionally. I'm not sure how that part works. I'll have to look it up. I wouldn't think you have to do the attractions, but maybe you do? Mm. So then we want to map. Beep. See how it works. It's almost midnight. I'm gonna turn into a pumpkin. Unicorn. Mm. I'm not sure how those things work. Let's see. But maybe you have to complete all the things under here? I don't know. We're so close to having enough to do a 10 pool. Because don't we have to have 160 to do a 10 pool? Additional, yeah. 1440 is what I need. So close. Almost have it that way too. Please outfit. How you get it? Hi, Michigan!
Let's see. It's cute. Really want to pull that.
Let me see.
You look it up.
Let's get going. The next location on my list is really far away. The scenery
Back to
here is
YouTube.
wonderful. I've landed the perfect job. Let me see. Okay, let's get going. The next location on my list is really far away.
Confuses me. Yes. All the Chipolas. We'll do again? What? Oh, you kissed yourself on the cheek? Do it. They already escaped? Oh. Weird, but okay. Gotta love yourself.
Perfect job.
Nobody loves you like you, man. There you go. But yeah, I think that's it for me. I'm tired. I think I'm sleepy. I think I'll figure out the rest of it tomorrow. But you guys are awesome. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for lurking. Thanks for listening. Appreciate you guys. And I will catch you guys next time. Definitely Tuesday. Tuesday night, if you're around, it's movie night and art night, and we just hang out in Discord and watch movies and make art and just chill. So you guys are more than welcome to hang out. Night, Mona! Thank you, artist. Good luck on your paper, and please try to get some sleep before you have to get up too early. Good luck, good luck, good luck. You need to go to bed early midnight? It's okay. I understand. Do what you gotta do. You gotta take care of you. Gotta take care of you. But yeah. Good luck, good luck. Get some sleep. Yeah, I'm about to go crash. I'm exhausted too. But catch you guys next time. Night, everyone.